lie. They just doing some bullshit American heavyweight type shit. That's what if they would have gave Wilder any of those fights.
That first fight.
And all of the excuses for the second fight he was making, terrible.
So
always,
you don't believe the gloves?
Huh?
You don't believe the gloves?
No.
You seen what happened with Margarito?
You could. Come on now. They would have. So they would have caught him. That means you gotta fire the white niggas too. Why he got that?
Margarito.
Why he still got that white guy in his camp then? The white guy was the one that was in his Tyson.
Them MX gloves are thing.
Look, you can do that all day. I do that with the MX glove. I do that with the MX gloves all the time. Open up my whole hand in them. You can't. That means he gotta go fight the white guy then. Why you keep the white guy and fight the black guy? You blame it on the black guy. And you be talking all that racism shit, and you gonna go fight a black guy. And the white guy was the one in the corner, and the white guy was the one in his Tyson Fury locker room, watching put on the gloves and wrapped his hand. So what?
Those are the words of Chris Colbert as he clowns Wilder. He denies the glove gate, and he gives his prediction on the third fight. Now, he did say some things. That's why I paused it. I want you guys to listen to this counterpunch, okay? Chris Colbert, of course, he's like 15-0, 6 KOs. Very hot prospect at the moment. PBC guy, and then that's another thing I want to add to this conversation. Now, when you're dealing with boxers, okay? I mean non-biased boxers. I don't mean people that have agendas, because basically what we were running into, we have Jermell Charlo, we had Timothy Bradley, we had Andre Ward, we had a lot of different fighters. And then look, and a lot of these guys are now coming from the PBC side. Okay, now we have Chris Colbert. Okay, and this is a PBC fighter, so it's not everything or everybody doesn't have the same mindset, which is a good thing. That means people have their own mind. You know, it's refreshing. It's liberating to know that just because you're not on a PBC banner, that means you don't have a gag order on what you think a fighter or a fighter in this position have. In fact, nobody else has made that up or gave their perception of that either. Okay, because for one, you haven't heard Shelly Finkel say that he yayed it or nayed it. He just said that he wished Deontay wouldn't have said it. So, you know, he might have been behind some of the influence of Wilder not saying anything in a press conference. Maybe not. JD's, you haven't heard a peep out of him, nor I feel you will. Because I think if anybody has a gag order, it was probably JD's, because he was the one that in return opted out to stay quiet. And like Chris Colbert said, okay, Chris said something that made sense. Well, why did they fire the black guy and keep the white guy? And then see, here's the thing. That wouldn't be an issue if Team Wilder wouldn't have made it an issue. Okay, that's the irony of it. That's the hypocritical part of what Wilder's doing. Oh, I'm pro-black, I'm pro-this, I'm pro that, but the first person you go after is a black guy. You know what I mean? So are you really pushing that, are you really pushing that like you claim? Because it looks like everybody that stayed don't look like you, ain't the same color as you. And you roll with these channels that know damn well they using you just for the color of your skin. That's what I believe. I believe those guys, if Wilder started doing something, just like he was at that Trump that Trump pardon for Jack Johnson, they gave him some flack on that. They did. It was quickly kind of buried, though. This was in 2018. And this was around that time where everything was coming to the forefront. I think it was 19, to be fair. I think that was 19. Yeah, that was 19, I believe. But all BS aside, Chris didn't believe that. He broke down the gloves. He said, yeah, you can open your hand up on those gloves. You can open your hand up on those type of gloves. So what are you talking about? And this is one thing coming from a fighter, but it's another thing coming from a fighter from the PBC. Because him being a PBC fighter, it shows that, hey, it doesn't matter what promotional company you're in. I'm going to speak the truth. And the excuses and stuff like that, that really speaks for itself. It says a lot when you can't even speak those. Because see, if those excuses meant as much as they supposed to meant for Wilder, he would have said them. He would have said them in front of Tyson Fury. That's what made me very suspicious on it. Now, like I said, I even countered that for everybody else, playing devil's advocate. Yeah, Tyson Fury could have said something too. He could have. Because just accusing someone of doing something to something that you are claiming to be a victim of, even accusing a person and they didn't do it, is the victim. So it's very tricky in that regards. But, you know, Chris Colbert is speaking his mind, and it just lets you know that there's other guys that, even though they're with PBC, it doesn't matter, because at the end of the day, people have common sense. People know what's an excuse and what's legit. A group of channels made a bullshit excuse as legit as humanly possible with things that they added and created and piled on the top due to a man's past. That's all they did. Nothing more, nothing less. They had people, Martin Carefoot, what's his name? Nicholas Ashbury. Those were like the two quote unquote witnesses for the LDBC. So he can tell them like exactly what happened in sparring, like that matters. Okay, that still had nothing to do with February 22nd. Neither does the wild boar meat, neither does the nandrolone, neither does any of those have anything to do with what Tyson Fury did to Deontay Wilder. And at this point, it just shows you maybe Deontay Wilder, it was actually staying quiet, maybe. This is just maybe, because he knew, hey, I lost. I don't have what it takes to say that in front of this man. You know what I mean? Maybe he just not that big of a bullshitter. And he wasn't going to just, hey, I can't do this in front of this dude. I'm just going to put these headbuds on, speak for him. I'm going to say I'm going to make my piece. And then I'm going to say peace. Right? And he sat back down, you know. But if you look at Wilder, I did not like the way he was looking. I got to address that. I did not like that look. That looked like he was on drugs, like the man was stressed. You know what I'm saying? Like, you know what I mean? In a mess. Like, he didn't look right. He don't look right, honestly. I never seen Deontay Wilder look that way. And that's with shades on. And you can tell from the way he looked, okay, he did not look right. So, Chris Colbert, you know, on this thing, on this particular segment of this video, on how are you going to keep Jake Deas and fire Mark Breland is beyond me. You guys tell me what you think about Chris Colbert's comments. Of course, please subscribe. And you guys been Counterpunching. Peace.